All right, we're gonna get started here. Hey everybody, I'm Evan Beresford. I'm hosting today. I'm with the Forest Carbon and Climate Program. On your screens now, you should see the speaker lineup for the 2025-26 Forest Climate Learning Exchange Series. After today, we'll have six more webinars in the series. All webinars occur at 3 p.m. Eastern and are on the first Wednesday of the month, except for January, which will occur on the 2nd. There should be a link in the chat in a minute here if you'd like to learn more about the rest of our webinars. We'd like to thank our 2025 Forest and Climate Learning Exchange Series co-hosts, the Society of American Foresters. The Society of American Foresters is the national scientific and educational organization representing forestry and related natural resource professionals across the United States. Founded in 1900, SAF promotes science-based sustainable management and stewardship of the nation's public and private forests. If you'd like to learn more about the work that SAF does, you can see the link in the chat now. So just to preview our next webinar that will be happening on December 3rd at 3 p.m., we have a team of global ambassadors from Youth for Nature who will present empowering young voices and the power of narrative. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the chat to register. It should be a super interesting conversation. I'd highly encourage all of you to attend. Today, we have Alton Perry, who's the director of Roanoke Cooperative's Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Project, and Bethaney Wilkinson, the executive director of the Sustainable Forestry and African American Land Retention Network, and they will present Sustaining Forests and Securing Family Legacies with the SFLR Network. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes. So we have a Q&A. We'll have 10 or 15 minutes at the end of this webinar where we can take questions from the audience. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can use the Q&A function and type it, and we'll try to get to all of them. We might not have time, but please share any thoughts or comments. We love hearing from you all, and we'd like to stimulate conversation. If you'd like to join our mailing list, you can scan the QR code here to stay up to date with all the FCCP goings on, so you can stay in the loop about future webinars and future courses that we'll be launching soon. Finally, this webinar has been approved for one SAF CFE. If you signed up for this webinar using the same email as your SAF account, your credits will automatically be applied to your account. If you are registered with a different email, you can contact SAF directly. Their email is cf@safnet.org. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Alton Perry.
All right, thank you, Evan. Let me see if we can get started here. Okay. Okay. Again, thank you, Evan. Thank you for having us join your learning series here. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be here in the U.S. or abroad. I'm Alton Perry. I'm the director of the Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Project at Roanoke Cooperative. First, let's just dive into what is or who is Roanoke Cooperative. So Roanoke Cooperative is one of 26 rural electric co-ops here in North Carolina. I believe there's about 900 across the U.S. Roanoke was established after the Rural Electrification Act in 1936. Began with approximately 317 owners, bringing power to rural America in northeastern North Carolina. They first put energy on their lines and infrastructure, 56 miles of it around May 29th, 1939. Today, they have over 2,000 miles of line and infrastructure, currently serving approximately 14,500 member owners in the counties of Bertie, Halifax, Hertford, Northampton, Gates, Bequemins, and Shawan counties. So, Roanoke Electric, at that time, when they put in the RFP, known as Roanoke Electric Cooperative, and I'll say about 2 years ago, there was a rebranding done. And that rebranding was done due to the fact that Roanoke Cooperative uh, does a lot of different things within the community other than provide electric service. So they felt like a name change was due because they're doing things within the community around energy efficiency. They've been working very heavily in the broadband landscape as well. But when they applied for this funding through a partnership between the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and the U.S. Forest Service, and later on American Forest Foundation, this partnership came together to take a look at the uh, African American land loss. When you look at statistics, around 15 million acres were amassed by African American landowners around 1910. And when you look at those numbers today, you may see them anywhere from around 2 million to as many as 4. But anyway, you look at it, you're looking at about 90-95% land loss. Just kind of a look-see, if you will, on heirs property across North Carolina. And you can see that it ranges from the coastal area of North Carolina all the way to the mountains. And there are some hot spots, if you would like to call them that, around northeastern North Carolina where our project is currently located. So when this initiative began back in 2013, Roanoke was fortunate enough to be selected as one of the 4 pilot sites. Uh, Roanoke Cooperative, of course, Center for Heirs Property out of South Carolina, the Limited Resource Landowner Education Assistant Network, better known as LR in Alabama, and also the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. Even back then, when we first started, while Bethany is going to be talking about the network, uh, we had an envision to create a SFLR network way back then, back in 2013. So it's great to see that those visions have come to fruition. And I will add that when this partnership, as I mentioned earlier, between the U.S. Endowment Forest Service, AFF, and also the Natural Resources Conservation Service. It's around, they wanted to test this theory of change. That is around what if. What if a local organization that was in the community, that was trusted in the community, could be the catalyst to bring together all these different natural resources? Would African American landowners engage with these resources? Would they begin to implement conservation forestry practices on the ground? Would they also address issues around land loss, that is, strategic planning around succession planning, estate planning, and also addressing issues of heirs property? And so when we were provided this opportunity, we were tasked with the first 30 months of getting landowners into the project and getting them moved to some point along this journey. And it really wasn't about how far along they got, but if they came into the project and through the assistance of technical assistance and financial assistance, would they move along this journey of sustainable forestry and land retention? And I'll also add here that even though our focus remains African American landowners, to also meet the mission of Roanoke Cooperative, that is, of the concerns and commitment to the community. Regardless of any demographics, our project is there to assist any forest landowners across our currently 16 county area. So some of the guidelines to participate in the Roanoke SFLR, the project or the property should be located within the project area. Uh, we also would like for our landowners to be committed. That is, have a commitment to the engagement of the resources that our organization will and our partners are going to bring to them. That they take this commitment seriously, is that they take the knowledge gained from resources and technical assistance and financial assistance and put those things into action to move towards their goals and objectives. Now, as I said, one of the requirements is that the property be located in one of those 16 counties he'll show here just a moment. What if a landowner is not in our service area? So we have a list of partners that we work with. We also walk through with the process with the landowner, and then we refer them to one of our other partners, one being Black Family Land Trust, our local partners, agency folks, to ensure that those landowners, even though they're not located in our project area, they still get the services that they just should be getting, deserve. So here is the counties that our project is currently located in. We started with the 6 counties that were Roanoke Cooperative Service Territory. Then through additional funding and support, we were able to move out into additional counties. We were just recently across 13 counties, and here in the last 2 weeks or so, we've been able to add 3 additional counties, those that are highlighted in green: Franklin County, Wilson County, and Washington County. Also, as I mentioned, that we have partnerships so that we can reach and expand our territory, if you will, by working with the Sand Hills Prescribed Burning Association, who does a lot of work down in the Sand Hills of North Carolina. That's kind of in that purplish blue color. They also work with First Nation or tribal organizations in that area and landowners. Also, we're working with Black Family Land Trust, who has statewide uh, responsibilities as well, and also Working Lands Trust, which is a conservation easement organization that we are partnering with that also can work across the entire state of North Carolina. So to get a little bit into the weeds, but not too far, uh, what our project goals are around that creating that family wealth, increase that asset value, or make that asset, your forest land, a performing asset, and retain land retention through sustainable forest management. To do that, we want to make sure to have access and provide access to landowner education, which is a cornerstone of our project, access to technical assistance and access to that financial assistance to implement practices on the ground. And of course, again, to access succession planning and resources around estate planning and the opportunity to resolve heirs resolution. We did adopt a tagline for our project, Sustaining Forests and Family Legacies. So when we talk about access to landowner education, how do we do that? We do that many ways. We do that through workshops and landowner meetings. And we try to bring a variety of topics to our landowners. Uh, we always hear as a common thread when we're in these meetings, landowners may not have been engaged before, haven't heard anything about how to use a consulting forester, haven't heard of how do I go about getting a forest management plan? Who do I go to? What's present use value taxation? So we try to bring these different topics and educate our landowners so they can move along their journey of meeting their goals and objectives of sustainable forestry and land retention. Very important, we have an opportunity to share information through a host of attorneys who put on workshops for us to talk about what heirs property really is, to dispel some of those myths, how to create family trees, what strategies can be used to uh, uh, create succession plans, how to get wills. Conflict resolution is important. We've had some training on that because we have to get families to talk with each other. And of course, access to attorneys. And again, supporting all of that work through financial assistance when there are engaging attorneys. Then also that access to technical assistance. So when a landowner participates in the Roanoke SFLR, what we do is we partner with our USDA partners, our Natural Resources Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, North Carolina Forest Service, and have a one-on-one meeting with the landowner and family members. Also, we work with them to get guidance on understanding a forest management plan. If they didn't have one and they received one, so what's in it? A lot of landowners don't understand the acronyms and the science that may be in those plans. So we walk through those plans, explaining what each recommendation means and how it's going to help them move forward on their journey. Uh, Identifying cost share programs to implement recommendations out of that plan. Assists on locating contractors to implement the work, and continue to follow up with landowners to make sure that they're on track to meet their deadlines. If they receive funding from USDA or from the Forest Service or from the project itself, and also answer questions as they move through their journey on implementing forestry and conservation practices. Each landowner is assigned an outreach specialist who is their point of contact. So anytime a landowner has a question or not sure about something, they can always contact that SFLR outreach specialist to answer that question or to guide them through the process. So it's important, and we try to ensure that landowners have an understanding why uh, they are so important as far as landowners. We can talk about forest management plans and estate planning and all these other things around conservation, but why do you do it? Why is it important not only to others, but to state, to our economy, to our environment? So we want to give a sense of pride to our landowners that they bring so much to the table by being forest landowners. Looking at the number of products that from their trees are produced and that we use every day. Clean water, clean air, reducing floods, storage of carbon. Also recreation opportunities and other things like mental relaxation. And of course, the economic impact as a forest landowner that they bring to North Carolina. So we want to make sure that they understand that they play a vital role in this supply chain across the landscape of forest sustainability. Moving back to technical assistance, I mentioned, when a landowner needs a forest management plan, how do they go about obtaining that plan? Who can write it? Whether it's from one of our state agencies or from a private consultant. So we guide them through that process. And again, once they get that plan, what's in it? What does this mean? What is it saying? It's providing information on current stand condition, the types of trees they have. Do they have insect and disease issues? How it addresses water quality. And all of these things move towards reaching that landowner's goals and objectives, which are the very first thing that any resource professional will ask a landowner. So what are your goals? What are your objectives with this property? And that plan would be tailored towards meeting those goals and objectives. As landowners look at their forest management plan around reforestation or reseeding, what other timber stand improvement practices are there? What do they need to do to control an insect and disease issue, or if they have invasive species? Or how can they look at new types of techniques around silvopastures, where a farmer may have forest land and also have livestock, and how they can bring the two together. Also ensuring that they understand that having that forest management plan open doors for them to look at opportunities around cost share assistance or financial assistance to implement those different conservation or forestry practices. Also, how to go about getting farm and tract numbers and applying for all these different cost shares, because it can get confusing. And that's why the SFLR we walk with that landowner hand in hand, if you will, through these processes. As I'm about to finish up here, just a couple of things around our metrics. We currently have approximately 427 landowners participating in the project who's gained access to a conservative number I put here, $1 million of financial assistance through our USDA partners, our state agencies, foundations, and forest industry, approximately 30,000 acres under management. We have a partnership with the Duke University Nicholas School of the Environment, where their master students work with our landowners to get real-time experience on developing forest management plans. So they're working with landowners, they meet with them, determine what their goals and objectives are. They go out to the sites and collect the data, develop a plan that is reviewed by the professor, by us, by other foresters, and then they present that plan and findings and recommendations to the landowner. And also, additionally, in addition to forest management of what our landowners do, many of them, once they get their forest management in order, if you will, they look at other opportunities, other economic streams, whether it's getting a high tunnel to produce niche market produce. Also, many of our landowners become mentors to other landowners who are just starting their journey on sustainable forestry and land retention. Also, I think it's important that we know that it's very important that our youth are engaged. And so we hold a youth summit each year to to engage students, youth on the career pathways in natural resources that were held in August. And last but not least, our project couldn't have the success that it has sustained over the years without our partners. So it's so important that we give a hand to our partners. We work hand in hand to ensure landowners are provide the information and guidance that they need to reach those goals of sustainable forest management and land retention. And that's me. I'm Alton Perry, and thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Alton. Evan, am I good to jump in?
Yep, please do.
Very cool. All right, get my slides moving here. If anyone has trouble seeing them, let me know. All right, hello everyone. Good afternoon. I am Bethaney Wilkinson. I am the executive director of the SFLR network, which is the backbone organization, umbrella organization, if you will, that supports not only Alton's incredible work on the ground with landowners in North Carolina, but we are actually a regional network of community-based organizations, very similar to Alton's, delivering these services across the Southeast. And so what I'm going to do is orient you to our work as a collective. As you'll likely notice, a lot of what I share isn't as directly related to what's supporting landowners on the ground as Alton's work is, because my work is to support organizations like Alton's. So we'll dig in. So our vision as a collective network organization is that we envision a world where African American and rural forest landowners are empowered to protect, control, and enhance their land assets through forestry and conservation, all while building a generational legacy of life on the land. As Alton mentioned, the dream of having SFLR be a network of a collective of organizations was something that was in their hearts and minds from the beginning. And so I came onto the team about a year and a half ago to help facilitate that transition from being a project to being a full organization. And it's been my joy. It's been my joy to do that. Our mission as a broad network is that we exist to create a sustainable system of support for rural forest landowners that significantly increases the value of privately owned forests through the sustainable forestry practices, land retention services, and technical assistance delivered through our network sites. And as a team, we are dedicated to continuing the legacy of environmental protection and stewardship, which are part and parcel to African American and rural life. I like to, I actually walk through this bit of the presentation whenever we add someone new to our team because I really think that the name of the network holds so much of who we are. So I'm just going to walk through the different portions of who we are as SFLR Network. So the first part, perhaps most obviously, is sustainable forestry. In the vast universe of land stewardship, forest management is a specific practice that is distinct from farming and agriculture. Oftentimes, when people hear about African American land ownership or land stewardship, they instantly think of farming, which is important and valuable. But the forestry piece is often new for folks in our community who are in rural places who are used to, seeing the cattle fields and the hay fields, and they don't always think, oh, the trees are also being farmed. The trees are also an industry. And so sustainable forestry is something that we bring to the forefront, and it's in our name. Emphasizing trees, timber, wood products, carbon sequestration, the role of forests, and ecological conservation in the economy, etc. The next part of our name is African American. Alton spoke to this, that in 1910, we saw that African American landowners held about 15 million acres of land. I've seen up to 20 also in some research. And we've seen a 90% decline in that land ownership over the past decades. And so our target audience is African American forest landowners who are heavily represented throughout the southeastern United States. And while we are passionate about amplifying African American environmental heritage and experience, each of our network sites supports all landowners from any background. Primarily focus on small acreage landowners, but we hold both. We want to see our entire rural communities thrive, which includes everyone, while also specifically providing support to African American landowners as we're able. The next big part of our name is land retention. And so while sustainable forestry is our anchor, all forms of land use are a part of land retention. And so we are really hoping to see landowners understand that their land can be activated, stewarded, and an active part of their plans for both their family legacies, as well as for the communities that they're a part of. And Alton spoke to this some, but heirs property issues are a critical challenge also facing our landowners. And so our work and the funding that we provide is also about connecting landowners to legal support and succession planning resources. For those of you who are unfamiliar with heirs property, it is what is created when someone who has land passes away without a will. That land is automatically passed on to all of their descendants, whether that's 2 kids or 10 kids, and then then all of their children and their children. So you can imagine the challenge this creates over many, many decades. And so resolving it becomes a big issue for landowners so that they can then activate the land that they're stewarding. And then last but not least is network. And I'll talk more about how we function as a network here in a moment. But we exist to create the sustainable system of support by investing in the organizations that are a part of SFLR. And we work together to emphasize what we can uniquely do as a collective, which is distinct from what the individual sites do on the ground throughout the region. A few of the values that anchor our work are these. Number one is landowners in the center. Alton spoke to this so beautifully, so I don't need to build on it too much more. But when we are building partnerships, raising money, designing programs, amplifying stories, etc., our landowners' needs are at the center of what we do. We are legacy forward, so we're thinking, what is this impact going to be on the next generation and the next generation, etc. We are really focused on closing the knowledge gap. A lack of access to vital information is often a barrier to effective and timely decision making for landowners and communities. And so we do a lot to educate folks about what their land is, how they can steward it, and connecting them to the resources they need. Again, Alton spoke to this really well. Within the network, being a collective of multiple organizations, we're committed to transparency. That's what windows, not doors means. And so in our decision making, we want to really make sure that we communicate a lot and that we explain the how and the why of the choices that we're making. And then last but not least, many branches, one tree. While we are composed of 8 distinct community-based organizations, we're committed to working together. And I'll dig into how and why that's so important. So our network sites. Our network, like I said, is composed of 8 independent community-based organizations. That includes the Black Family Land Trust in Virginia, who works pretty closely with Alton in North Carolina, the Center for Heirs Property in South Carolina, Roanoke Cooperative, Macintosh Seed is based in coastal Georgia. We have the Limited Resource Landowner Education and Assistance Network in Alabama, Winston County Self-Help Cooperative in Mississippi, the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, they have a program called the Keeping It in the Family program, which is in Arkansas. And then our newest site, which we haven't promoted a lot about yet, but we will in the coming weeks, is the Texas Agroforestry Farmers, Ranchers, and Landowners team. So they are in East Texas. And so this is who is a part of the SFLR network. And at the on the ground, at the landowner level, they are providing all of these services here. So sustainable and resilient forest management, heirs property resolution, advocacy and technical assistance, succession and estate planning. And then for some cases, they will support with sustainable agricultural implementation as well for the landowners who need that. So why be a network of 8 organizations instead of just being one organization? We're a network because we can achieve more together than any one organization can achieve on its own. And I'll share some stats to support that here in a moment. We're able to collaborate across the region to strengthen our work at the local level. And so there's sharing of best practices, making connections, getting support when faced with challenges, building a community of practice. We have caucuses that meet to discuss forestry challenges and the issues we're seeing with landowners. Our board of directors is composed of site directors from across the network. And so we're able to troubleshoot issues we're navigating and leading organizations in real time. Alton could probably speak to this, but there's so much value in being able to pick up the phone and call another practitioner and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, or hey, I need that. And to have a dedicated group of people who are in your corner and contributing to your overall mission. So that's probably the highest value that we experience as a collective organization. We're able to make decisions from a broader vantage point. So being that we are a regional organization, we can step back and look at, okay, what's happening across the region and what is our role in supporting those efforts, whether they are conservation related, heirs property related, or just generally supporting often overlooked or historically disadvantaged communities as a whole. As an intermediary, the SFLR network, we are an intermediary, so we receive resources and then we deploy them within a multiplying way. We're better able to receive and deploy resources, so it's a bit more efficient for funders and donors to give to one organization that then sends it out to 8 others, as opposed to managing grants with 8 different organizations. And then last but not least, we're able to work towards telling a shared story of our communities and speaking with one voice on the issues that matter most to us. And so here are some numbers, collective impact in numbers. I want to note that these numbers are on our website and have not been updated since 2023. And we are in the process of doing a new round of data collection so that all of this can be updated because I'm thinking it's actually quite a bit higher than these numbers now. But as of 2023, we had across the network 106,000 acres in active management. About 2,500 landowners were being actively supported through SFLR activities across the region. I saw the most recent number I saw for that is actually 5,000. I saw that number this morning. I haven't fact checked it yet, so I didn't want to add it to the presentation until I can go look at the data myself. But it's exciting to hear that that number is likely doubled. 1,700 forestry services activated, nearly 300 timber sales facilitated, and then nearly 5,500 land tenure services delivered. And so again, this doesn't include our numbers from 24 and 25, but stay tuned for those updates. You can sign up for our SFLR newsletter and you'll learn more when we make those updates to our website. So as a network, what do? We have 4 primary program areas, and I will break these down further here in a moment. But number 1 is that we fund. We raise funds to build the capacity of our network sites and to close financial gaps and providing technical assistance to landowners. Number 2 is that we convene. So we convene landowners, foresters, forestry sector, and conservation leaders, policy advocates, and more. So we have lots of meetings. We amplify events and stories from across the network. We amplify sustainable forestry best practices, and then we also amplify network-wide achievements. And then last but not least is educate. We educate policymakers and forestry sector partners on how policies are impacting the landowners in our communities. In terms of funding, to break it down even further, we provide capacity building and operational support. So that's, salaries and technology, some of the boring stuff that's critical to doing the work to support landowners that Alton does so well with his team. And then we also have a forestry fund. This is a flexible pool of resources that is to help landowners, again, close some of those financial gaps. And so if they need to pay for a timber cruise on their property, if they need to cover the fees for a meeting with a consulting forester, if they need help to pay for some legal support, we have a pool of funds that is designed specifically for those landowners, and that is deployed through our network sites. Number two are convening. So we convene our network sites to support them, to build their capacity, to have fun. They do so much good work supporting landowners and they give their hearts and souls to it. And so we at the network level are always thinking about how can we support them. We convene our foresters. We have a monthly forestry caucus where all of the foresters from across the region are able to meet, to learn, to discuss challenges they're facing, and to find solutions together. We gather our regional partners. So these are our donors and funders and just collaborators. Alton had that great list of all the partners who support him at the Roanoke level, but we have the same thing at the network level. So we're always trying to bring those folks together to keep them up to speed on what we're doing. And then, of course, we convene landowners. We have a landowner conference coming up next May, which I'm really looking forward to. Next is amplification. So we have a podcast, which I'll plug here in a moment, sharing stories from across the network. We have a newsletter. We do video storytelling, and we'll be doing more of that in the future, and then social media. So this is the best way that we've found so far to let people know the incredible work that's happening on the ground, the forests that are being conserved, the families that are being empowered. And so we get excited about helping people to see what's happening in rural places across the country. And then last but not least is the education piece. We have a policy caucus that meets monthly as well. And that group is often thinking about how can we help our state and federal policymakers understand the impact of the policies that they are signing off on, what's the impact of those on the ground. So we do a lot of education. And then again, connecting with forest sector partners and collaborators. And so here, as I near the end, are just some of our ambitions as a network for the future. Like Alton said, we started with the 3 sites back in 2013. We've grown to the 8 sites. As of this year, we are officially a nonprofit organization, which is a huge milestone for us as a project and now entity. And as we look to the future, here are a few things that are on my mind. Number one is strengthening our core identity as a nonprofit intermediary who's dedicated to the flourishing of African American landowners, rural economies, and resilient working forests in the Southeast. I was talking to a colleague this morning, and she was reiterating to me that in the Southeast, I believe it's 245 million acres exist of forest land. I believe it's 86% of that is privately held. And then about 50% of that 86 is held by small acreage landowners. And so as we look to the future and doing what we can to support those small acreage private landowners, I think our positioning as an intermediary to deploy the resources and to support more community-based organizations is really critical. Number 2 is to expand our impact into new states and counties. Our work in Texas, that's our first new site that we're expanding to. We're in conversations with prospective sites in Tennessee. I'm still looking at Florida as well. And so we're hoping to meet more landowners where they are through programs like the one Alton leads and to see more families empowered to sustainably manage and conserve the forest land that's in their care. Number 3 is to refine our data-driven storytelling through research and tech-enabled data collection so that we can keep up with what's going on and communicate that effectively to those who are interested. And then last but not least is to partner with the public to continue educating families about their role in managing and conserving our private forest lands. In order to do all those things, we need your help. So I would love for those who are interested in anything I've shared here. I know we'll do Q&A. You can spread the word about SFLR Network, especially if you know landowners who might benefit from the work we do across the region. You can keep up with us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We do have a great podcast, Roots to Resilience. It's 8 episodes. You hear one story from each site across the region. From our site directors, multiple landowner stories. So it's a really great project. You can find it anywhere podcasts are shared, distributed. If you're listening and you're interested in partnering with us on events or seminars or workshops, we're always looking for subject matter experts who have something to teach or share and they want to contribute to the landowners in our community. And then last but not least, you can sign up for our newsletter to stay in the loop on all that's to come. And that is everything I have. Thanks for listening. I look forward to the conversation.
Great. Thank you, Bethany and Alton. Those presentations were fantastic. I just sent a link in the chat for the presentation or for the podcast that Bethany mentioned. I haven't listened to it, but I'm excited to check it out. And I think we'll have an audience that's also excited to listen to it. So we do have a few questions for you here. Um, so I'm going to start with the first one. It's kind of a two-parter for both Bethany and Alton. So the first part is, what do you see as the largest barrier to engaging with landowners? And the second part of that would be, what do you think the solutions to those barriers would be? I know it's a big one, but uh, we're the Forest Carbon and Climate Program. We do a lot of education and outreach. We're interested in it. We love that stuff here.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it to begin with, and Bethany can fill in any gaps or cover some things I don't mention. So, in our work, what we hear oftentimes is landowners just not knowing, you know, uh, because they haven't heard about resources available to assist landowners. And you have to look at it from a cultural standpoint as well. Those who are boomers or older, you know, they don't use a lot of the technology, and those millennials and other younger generations do. So you have to look at ways how to reach both groups, if you will, independently. So oftentimes it's in your local papers for your older group landowners out there, or word of mouth. One of the best outreach vehicles we have is word of mouth from landowner to landowner, but also from our partners. Our partners do a fantastic job of sharing information about us when they get inquiries from someone who's interested in forestry or forest management, and they say, "Hey, you need to contact Roanoke over there and talk to them too, because it sounds like you will be a good fit, and they can assist you." So yeah, just trying to get that information out there as broadly and as we can.
Yes, that was my first thought too, Alton. Just that information piece. The other thing that comes to mind, and this is for folks who maybe are beyond the information piece, is getting families on the same page, with the plan for the future, especially if it's a multi-generational dynamic. I was actually had the privilege of being at the Roanoke Landowner Conference, which was just a couple weeks ago, and I talked to multiple landowners who are saying, "We have this land, it's here, and my kids are all over the country and they aren't interested. And so how do I get my kids who are living in, New York or out west to care about what we have here in North Carolina?" I think helping connect those dots for multi-generational families can be really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the insight there. Um, we had a few questions. I know one was answered in the chat, but Alton, could you speak about some land minimums? Like how much land does a landowner have to actually own to engage with the project?
Yeah. So each site within the network will have their own guidelines on the minimum acreage that they are working with for a landowner to participate in their specific site project. With Roanoke, we look at 8 contiguous acres. However, even that, if you don't meet the minimum requirement as far as acreage, we're not going to cast you aside. We're going to find opportunities for you. We're going to work with you. Again, find out what your objectives are, and we can have discussions with the family. Then we'll refer you to possibly one of our partners, because even if you have a small acreage that may fall below the minimum, your forests are still important not only to us as but also important to you, is your land. And you want to know what's out there. You want to know what opportunities are there for you to sustain that land through generations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. We don't want to cast aside landowners just because they don't have 8 acres of land.
Hmm.
I mean, all forests are important regardless of size, and
Yeah,
um, yeah, they all play a role in carbon stewardship and other environmental processes, and they're important to families.
great.
Um, yeah, that's great. We had another question from the audience. Have you in your work, have you experienced conflicting interests for different landowners? And how do you balance different landowner wants and needs?
Yes, it's I chuckle because we had this very scenario about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had mentioned in my presentation about the Duke students who are working with our landowners to develop forest management plans. Well, we get a call from one of the teams that's working with our landowners, and they're saying, boy, it's their property, and they've met with the family, and everybody has a different opinion of what they want to do with the land. I said, okay, we understand that, which to me, that was great. I mean, that's real-time experience that they can't get in a classroom. So how do you navigate that? How do you work through that? And so, first of all, you look at it from the sustainable forestry perspective. Okay, what are the forests? What are they doing? What can we do to ensure that they're healthy, resilient, productive? Okay, now we are addressing that. Okay, let's take a look at what ideas we have. Some ideas are could be low-hanging fruit, whereas, oh yeah, you could do that. Do some agro-tourism possibly. Do some, get a high tunnel and grow some, again, some niche produce or something like that. And then you just kind of prioritize, you kind of giving everybody a little bit of what they want. And then knowing that they understand that it's a process you got to work through to get to that end goal.
Yeah, so many conflicting interests. Speaking of conflicting interests, we got a question from the audience. Do you ever partner with a campground or I assume like a privately held forest that has recreational value or is like privatized almost like not just a family, you know?
So I'm going to say we have not had that scenario in our work just yet, but we're always open to new ideas, new partnerships. Again, if it's something that's going to bring value to the community and also bring value to ensuring our forests stay healthy and resilient, we're open to it. Yes, we're open to it.
Yeah, that makes me think, Alton, you might be able to correct me on this. I think the Black Family Land Trust, like they're actively managing 200 acres of forest for a children's home. That's no
Correct.
longer in operation. So it's not the same thing as a private campground, but it is a similar situation. It's not an individual family, it's an entity, an organization.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Would you mind sending a link for that group in the chat just so our participants have access to that resource?
Sure, yes, I don't know if they have it on their website, the Black Family Land Trust. You can also navigate to it through the
Oh,
SFLRnetwork.org. You can get access to
awesome.
all 8 sites and their
Great.
information.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. We have great. Everybody, we have so many questions in the chat. Please keep sending them in. These are so great. Um, this one is, I think, an interesting question that speaks to management practices on the ground. Um, so a participant asks, do you guys work with landowners that don't want to spray harsh chemicals on their land?
Ooh, good question. I wouldn't know. Oh. Alton?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, when we're working with a landowner um, or we're working with a resource professional that is working with a landowner consulting forester or even our state agency folks, our North Carolina Forest Service, if the landowner has indicated those types of uh, scenarios where they don't want to use herbicides at all or not wanting to use a particular practice, yeah, we look at alternatives. What are the alternatives? We give them the outcome of using those alternatives as well. But yeah, it's all about the landowner, and the landowner should always remember it is their property, and we're here to assist you to reach your goals.
Awesome. Yeah, always so important to take into consideration what landowners want. Um, we love cooperative management plans. I mean, that's the only way that management will get implemented is if we actually listen to landowners and talk to them about what they want.
Mhm.
Um, Could you, Bethany, speak a little bit about, you mentioned the conference that's upcoming in the spring. Could you mention how people could engage with that, what the goals of that conference are?
Sure, great question. We're in the beginning planning phases, so I wish I could share more, but we haven't planned it all out fully yet. The first SFLR network conference that was across the region happened in summer 2023, and so this is our only second time doing it. And the goal is to help or support those landowners who have likely been in the work of forest management for a while, figure out what the next phase of their work looks like, whether that is focusing on how they really do get the next generation involved, or how might they explore some emerging markets, or how might they be responsive to the changing just changing things that are changing in the industry right now. And so those are some of the topics that are top of mind for me. Because we are a network, we do everything we can collaboratively, and so we're pulling together an events committee that will be fleshing this out in greater detail in the coming months. But that's high level what we're thinking. It's scheduled for May 12th through the 14th, likely in Birmingham, Alabama, but that's also to be confirmed.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yep.
We had a question. I'm not super familiar, admittedly, with North Carolina geography, so I don't know where this would fall in your scope, Alton. But somebody asked if you are planning on expanding specifically into Wayne County in the near future. Is that, can you speak to that at all, or is that still too far away to determine?
So, we hope to continue to expand. As I mentioned, we started with 5, 6 counties, and we went to 13. Now we are moving into 16. We are very close to Wayne County. Yeah, I would say just stay tuned. But in the meantime, if you have questions about forestry, forest management, or any resources we've talked about today, please don't hesitate or wait to say you see a big news flash saying, "Oh, Roanoke has moved into Wayne County." No, go ahead and contact us and let us go ahead and have that conversation.
Great. Awesome. I'm glad Wayne County's nearby, so I wasn't asking something about on the western end of the state. Uh, as we wrap up here, are there any last resources for landowners that you would like to share? Bethany, we shared that the podcast, and that's great. Do you have any other educational resources online that could be accessible to landowners, like walking away from this webinar with something that they can read more about SFLR network or projects about?
Oh, great question. So on our YouTube channel, which I didn't share about, we do have a couple of landowner seminars that are available. But mostly when landowners come to SFLR Network looking for support, we send them to the sites. And so I would actually recommend that if you are a landowner and if you are in one of our 8 states, that you either reach out to our team and we connect you with that site, or you connect via our website, because they're the ones who will be providing the support on the ground.
Yeah, I'll just follow up with that if you go to our site or any other sites, but I'll say specifically for Roanoke, we have past presentations, webinars that we've had. There's blogs we've had on different subject matter, and there's landowners stories there. Just yeah, take a look around there at our site or any of the other sites to gain information on what we do, how we do it, and the resources available.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Cool. I'll wrap up here by sharing my screen quickly and sharing our speaker lineup. Here, give me a quick second. Um, oop, let's go. I'll give Alton and Bethany a second to share resources if they'd like to as well. Um, so thank you to Alton and Bethany for presenting. That was super informative. Great conversation stemmed from that. We really appreciate your time. Um, if you would like to attend future webinars, here is our speaker lineup again. You can scan that QR code on the top of your screen to join our listserv, and we'll email you directly about upcoming webinars and projects that the FCCP is engaging in. And if you'd like to engage, or if you'd like to sign up directly for the next webinar, you can scan that QR code on the bottom, and there should be a link in the chat. So again, thank you to Alton and Bethany, and we hope to see everybody again on December 3rd at 3 p.m. So thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thank
rest of
you.
your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.